All right, guys. So in one of my last videos, I compared the wall vapor to the magic clip and the senior. I said the senior is getting 5,000 to 5,500 RPMs, and a lot of people in the comments quickly said that the measurements were off and the senior gets 7,200 RPMs or 6,800 RPMs, or it's the most powerful, it gets 6,500. Whatever it was, the comments varied. And I said to myself, you guys must be right, because why would the senior, which is one of the flagship clippers from WAHL, have less RPMs than the cordless magic clip? Didn't make sense. Then I said, maybe it's the brushes worn out on the rotary motor and I should just check out a different senior. So I went to the shop and got this one, which doesn't have a lot of miles on it, and same thing. So I went to the extent of emailing WAHL, asking them exactly what is the RPMs for this machine. And they came back in this email right here, and I'll share the screenshot, and said it was 6,000 RPMs. Even that, I couldn't believe. So I emailed them again, hoping I would get somebody different that would maybe give me a different answer. And they said 5,500 RPMs. So upon all this research trying to get to the bottom of it, came across a YouTube channel, Cutwares Geek, a guy overseas, and he really just works on machines and enhances them. And that inspired me to do this video to boost the WAHL to as high as I could get it when it comes to motor and battery. So I went to good old AliExpress. I got a 7,000 RPM brushless motor, and I got the biggest battery I could find for the WAHL, 4,200 milliamps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that motor and this battery in the 1919 100-year anniversary WAHL Senior and see how much I can max it out. But before I do that, I'm going to measure the RPMs in front of you. 5,400. Now, when I slide this back, it gets a little better because there's less resistance of the tension spring pressing on the blades. So this one could get up to 6,200, and that's cleaned and oiled. So those are the measurements when it's off the cord. Now I'm going to plug it right into the charger, and you're going to see the measurements go up. So 6,500 with the blades closed. Now I'm going to slide it back. So it could hit 7,000 when it's plugged in. It is not hitting that when it's not plugged in. So let's check out the 100-year anniversary corded senior. Not plugged in, blades closed. So it's bouncing around from 55 to 5,800. Blades open. About the same thing. We'll plug it in with the blades closed. See how high it goes. $6,200 with the blades closed, plugged in. Blade slid back, plugged in. To round that up to 6,500, but even this, you see the difference. These are both seniors. Like, why? This was bought in 2020 at Sally's. Just so you guys know, these are on bootleg. All right, so let's get to work. Let's throw the brushless motor in here. Let's throw that big battery in here. Let's see how high we could get this thing. All right, so let's get all this to the side and open this machine up. All right, so now that we remove those 3 screws to get the faceplate off, I'm going to take the battery out. So this is stuck on. Battery lifts up, and then you just have, you could actually lift this out and then kind of use a pick tool if you have it, get this thing off. So that the battery is out, there's no power going to the motor. So I'm going to do the motor first, and that's the hardest part. I'm going to take off these 3 screws, and you see this little magnet right here? Try to keep that in place and don't move it, because that helps stabilize the motor, they say. So I'm going to try to keep all that intact. So it's easy when I go to put it in later and I know nothing is out of place. Now here we have the motor. Now what we're going to do is we're going to lift this up and slide it back. Take off the red wire. I'm going to open up this brushless motor to check out its setup. So the red wire is going to screw right back on, and this black wire is going to have to get soldered to the motherboard right here. To make the process a little bit easier, I cut the motor from the motherboard, just so it's a little bit easier to get to when I solder it. The first rule of soldering is to wear some eye protection. If you're going to do this, just wear some eye protection, because if that hot stuff gets in your eyes, your eyes probably will not be the same. So I got my little soldering iron here from Amazon, and we're going to get to work. So this is set to 376 degrees Celsius, which is about 700 something degrees Fahrenheit. So this heats up pretty quick, and as soon as it heats up, we're going to get this soldering right here and then get this wire out. Okay, that wire's out. All right, so I have this little helper, and I have to get this through this little hole, which already has some solder on it. So I'm going to try to heat it up, and with a little bit of luck, it will go through. And then we will have our connection. And there we have it. Now that we have that through, get myself a little extra solder. Just get that little bit more back there. That should hold it in place. Now that the soldering is done, we're going to connect the red wire. So now that brushless motor is in there, connected to the motherboard. Let's open up our AliExpress battery and compare some specs real quick. Now, I'm not saying this is the best battery. This is kind of an experiment too, but you see this is the WAHL battery, manufactured for WAHL Clipper. This is 3.6 volts and 2200 milliamps. This is 3.7 volts, so just a drop higher in voltage, which is the power, and this is 4,200 milliamps, which is the storage. So these will go right in there. Clips in. We could put the board right back in its slot. Put the charging port back in. We'll get the battery in there where it needs to be. Motor housing in. All right, motor cover back on. We'll put this little sticky part back on to cushion the battery. Put the screws back in. All right, so 7,000 RPM brushless motor. Let's see what we got. Let's see what it does. But before we do that, I know you guys don't expect me to keep these blades on it. Let's throw a fade blade on it with the magic clip stagger tooth blade to get the best of both worlds and really take this machine to the next level. See that? That stagger tooth blade, man, it really gives you a nice texture effect. And that's what made that magic clip machine so popular, is this blade, because that blade does do magic when it comes to fading. It texturizes the hair, and it just makes it easier to fade, man. Straight up. It just makes it easier to fade. Now, as you can see, these screws didn't fit, so I had to use the original screws. We're gonna make sure the blades are nice and centered in the back. We're gonna give ourselves, we're gonna gap these visually. Ooh, that even sounds better. Let's check the RPMs now. All right, moment of truth. Blades closed, not on the charger. $6,800 brushless motor, even sounds better. Let's see how the motor does with the blades slid back. Motor sounds way more consistent, and that's like a $15 AliExpress motor and like a $12 AliExpress battery. You're talking about under 30 bucks. Now let's see how it performs when it's plugged into the charger. Now let's see if we also get our light, our blue light. Yep, blue light on. Let's check it out. Now we're doing over 7,000 in the WAHL Senior like we're supposed to. Next up, I'm gonna let this thing charge up, and then we're gonna see how much runtime we got with this. But this is a WAHL Senior boosted with the magic clip blade. Okay, you see now we have the blue light on the clipper, which means it's charging. Once that blue light extinguishes, that will indicate we are at a full charge and it's time to run our test. So here we go. And as you can see, we got 1 hour and 48 minutes. Now let's see how that stacks up to the WAHL Senior stock. Okay, once again, you see we have the blue light, means it's charging. Once it extinguishes, that means we're at a full charge. There it goes, so let's check it out. As you can see, the stock WAHL Cordless Senior has 1 hour and 4 minutes. That's 64 minutes we got out of that. Okay, so what have we learned? We have learned that we have taken this from 64 minutes of runtime to 108 minutes of runtime. We've also learned when you email WAHL about their machines, they will give you different answers about the RPMs. We have learned that different websites, barbers will give you different answers about the RPM. We have learned when you actually measure these machines RPMs, you will get different answers. We have also learned when you plug them in, the answers will vary. We have also learned you could take parts from AliExpress and upgrade the performance on these machines. How good those parts are on quality, I cannot say. I'm not an engineer. I'm a barber like everybody else. But I did take this and do a bunch of cuts with it, and I was very satisfied with the performance. Also going to upgrade this one as well. Magic clip blades. I have an 8,000 RPM motor coming, brushless, and I have the big battery I'm going to put in this. So I'll probably do a part 2 to this video. So stay tuned, like and subscribe. I appreciate you guys in the comments and everything else. So until the next time, peace.